going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Roster Bubble Series video. Please like, comment, subscribe, share out, and turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops to your drops. Appreciate y'all coming back. With that being said, I do have a minor announcement, sort of an adjustment into the schedule for this week. We won't be doing a live stream for a pre-draft session. It's actually going to be a Twitter space for tonight. I'm not going to be doing it, but my brother Luca will be doing it. If you follow Boys in Big Apple Twitter, the link will be posted there. There's a couple of people that are going to be coming on. Donald Stewart of the Boys in Big Apple podcast. I think Let's Talk Knicks is one of the co-hosts. You might see some other Knicks content creators pop in there as well. Clutch B-Ball, I think, is also expected. But for Thursday night, we are streaming the NBA draft, so join us then for all sorts of talk. And I think Clutch is also going to join us then as well after every Knicks pick. So once again, appreciate you guys for coming out and supporting. We're at 449 right now. Let's get to 450. Let's get to 500. Let's get to halfway to 1,000 subscribers. That'd be a great milestone in the history of this channel. So roster bubble video. If you guys don't know how I do these videos, I talk about a player that's on the roster bubble that may or may not be cut. Then I go into their background competition, and then how they could win, their spot on the roster, how they could lose, followed up by a prediction. Carter Coughlin is today's candidate. This is one of the guys that I like coming out of the 2020 draft, and I really like when the Giants drafted him because I felt he put up some pretty good numbers for a late-round pick at the University of Minnesota, the Golden Gophers. He had, I think, a 9.5 sack season either the year he came out or the year before he came out. So there's that. But the Giants drafted him in the 7th round, I believe it was, with the Joe Judge staff and under the realm of Dave Gettleman. So in his rookie year, he played in 14 games. He started 2 of them because later in the season, the New York Giants had a linebacker issue because a lot of the linebackers were getting injured. Marcus Golden was traded. Lorenzo Carter was out for the season. Kyler Fackrell was on IR for a little bit. And O'Shane Ximines was out for the season. So there was a lot of linebackers moving around. Nico Lalos got a couple of shots in as one of the linebackers. He didn't start, but he got one of the shots in. Carter Coughlin, as I just said, started 2 games. Cam Brown played a little bit. TJ Brunson really didn't play. But there was a lot of inexperience at the outside linebacker position, but the Giants were still getting home with the pass rush and doing what they needed to do, doing what they needed to do on defense. Let's put it that way. In terms of sack totals and stats, Carter Coughlin had 1 sack, and that was actually on Tom Brady on Monday Night Football against the Buccaneers. Week 8, I want to say? Yeah, week 8. So he also had 17 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, 2 quarterback hits, and 5 pressures. He gave up a 75% completion percentage in coverage, but he wasn't put out in coverage, that much. That only matters in terms of making the switch to inside linebacker, which we'll talk about in just a second. So the New York Giants tried finding a way, and they really didn't touch much of the inside linebacker spot in free agency because, well, they had Blake Martinez, and they thought they were good from there. They also had Tate Crowder, who came on the scene as a Mr. Irrelevant pick, and he actually did quite well in 2020. You also had Carter Coughlin as a potential inside linebacker, and TJ Brunson as well. So either way, during training camp, they started moving Carter Coughlin to the inside to stretch his versatility to both linebacker spots. Struggled a little bit in the preseason. Obviously, you're not going to make the transition smooth right away. He did have a couple of missed tackles. Made a couple of good plays in the Jets game. Struggled in the Browns game in coverage. But in the Patriots game, I don't think he made any remarkable plays. Did miss a couple of tackles, though. So there was that. Then he went on IR. And, a couple of games into the season, about 7 games into the season to be exact, right after the Panthers game, he went on IR. And that was pretty much it for him. I think either Ellerson Smith or Aaron Robinson came off IR that week, so that was obviously the corresponding move. But that was it for him. Played mostly special team snaps. He actually played 86% of the snaps on special teams. Played 8% of the defensive snaps on defense, of course, in 2021. Then in 2020, going back a year, he played 20% of the defensive snaps with 40% on special teams, so more of a special teams presence. And you could kind of see that a little bit because obviously Dick Crowder was in there, and then for the outside spot, you had Azeez Ojulari and Lorenzo Carter and O'Shane Ximines and Quincy Roche. So there's a lot of crowdedness in terms of that outside linebacker room. But we never really got to see Carter Coughlin in full action at inside linebacker. So is he a possible fit for this scheme? Is he not? We'll see. We got to see what happens. But we never saw him really on the field too much in terms of his transition in real time, not necessarily the preseason. So his competition looks like this. Cam Brown, who obviously was a 6th-round pick out of Penn State in 2020. He's been mostly a special teamer up to this point. Justin Hilliard was, I guess he still is, but he's going to have a 2-game suspension to start the year because PEDs and stuff like that. Tate Crowder, that's an obvious one. Tamon Fox, because of the outside linebacker spot, the undrafted free agent out of North Carolina. Then you got Jihad Ward, who is the free agent signing from Jacksonville, played with Martindale a few years ago in Baltimore. And you got O'Shane Ximines, who is a 3rd-round pick in 2019. Quincy Roche, who was an undrafted free agent. Actually, no, he wasn't an undrafted free agent. He was a 6th-round pick of the Steelers. They cut him, tried moving him to the practice squad. The Giants swooped him up, and that was actually a very, very underrated move there. Then Ellerson Smith, 4th-round pick out of Northern Iowa last year. So there's cons and there's pros when it comes to the battle that Carter Coughlin is facing. He has versatility. He's got the inside linebacker position, but a lot of inexperience there, which could be on the same level as Micah McFadden because Micah McFadden has never played in the NFL, neither has Darian Beavers. But then again, they've played the inside linebacker position a little longer. So he has that versatility, but the problem is he's competing with a lot more bodies. Justin Hilliard, who we could probably mark off the roster and say, no, he's not making it, is a possibility. Same could be said for O'Shane, just obviously, just marking them off. But when you get down to the thick of things, when Micah McFadden and Kayvon Thibodeau and Darian Beavers, and different guys like Jihad Ward, who possibly are locks to make this roster, and they're, already on it, let's just say, for example, like the coaches already have them penciled in, you have slim pickings left. Not in terms of, who's there, but also who gets the spot. So it's a positive to be playing 2 positions, but also a negative because you have to compete with more bodies on the roster. How can he win a spot on the roster? He has to show his versatility. Rush the passer when told. He's a good blitzer. But also there's going to be some tasks to cover, possibly. We all know what Martindale likes out of his front 7 and his back 4-5 players. So there's that. Covering. He's got to get better at tackling, I think, overall. I mean, he could make some really good tackles in the backfield, but there's a lot of times, last preseason, I've seen him missing a couple of tackles with the snap time going up, so he does need to improve on that. We'll talk about that in just a second. Beat out the younger cats in the room and stay on the field. Obviously, last year, I'm pretty sure he's rehabbed from the surgery, the injury he got last year. But in terms of beating out the younger cats, try beating out guys like Tamon Fox because of the versatility, because of the experience you have at the NFL level. Beat out O'Shane. I honestly consider Carter Coughlin to be a little bit more versatile and more worthy to this Giants defense than O'Shane Ximines. Same thing maybe can be said for Cam Brown. I mean, Cam Brown was a little bit of an outside backer, off the ball kind of guy coming out of college, so he really wasn't the sack type, but he was the blitzing type, the special teams type. But at the same time, Carter Coughlin does offer that, and Cam Brown actually did play a little bit more last season. Justin Hilliard, nobody really knows what he is on the field, so he could beat out him. But once again, it's going to be slim pickings in terms of roster spots when you think about the guys that are already locked on. Micah McFadden, Kayvon Thibodeau, Azeez Ojulari, Jihad Ward, Darian Beavers. There's a lot of guys. How can he lose? has a quiet camp. Preseason doesn't really make any plays. Once again, we talked about last preseason a lot in this video already. And he made a couple of nice plays, but at the same time, he missed a lot of tackles. That can really bite you in the ass in terms of if you're trying to make a roster spot. So if he keeps missing those tackles, if he doesn't really fix his form, that's a problem. If he can't cover and he's asked to do so, which is a possibility whether you're outside or inside in the 3-4, it's definitely something that could be asked of Coughlin either in camp or in the preseason. If he doesn't lock onto that, and that's one of his jobs, his tasks, his assignments, and he doesn't really complete that well, that's a negative. That's why he could possibly lose the spot. Stays on the sidelines if for some reason this injury is hampering him, or he possibly gets injured again. That's an automatic out. But overall, just to sum it up, in terms of winning, he has to stretch his versatility in a good way and be able to be, good at both spots, tackle well, work on the fundamentals, and if he's on the losing pattern, it's probably because he's not doing those things well, he's staying off the field, and he's not making enough plays where he could beat out guys like Tamon Fox and O'Shane Zimenez. So in terms of a prediction, I really like this guy, but unfortunately, I just don't see him sticking with the New York Giants. Maybe he's a practice squad guy, but I have him getting cut, once again, for the 90th time. I like this guy. I thought he could be something in Giants blue. Unfortunately, because of everything that's gone on the last 2 years, with the injuries and all this other shit. So, he couldn't really become the player that a lot of people thought he was going to be. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share out, turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops to your drops. Appreciate y'all coming back. Just remember, guys, it's going to be a space tonight hosted by Boys in the Big Apple on Twitter. So be sure to check my brother out. Obviously, he runs that Twitter. So there's going to be a lot of good content creators on there in terms of Knicks, in terms of NBA. And then tomorrow night we'll be streaming the NBA draft. So that's going to be fun. We'll have Clutch on. We'll have Donald on. Friday I'll be at the Nasty Nestor game. So if you guys are going to be there or, any Yankee fans there, let me know. Saturday is the big day, NYY News TV Day. I can't wait. We are, less than 3 days away. So, I just can't wait to meet everybody, meet the NYY News TV guys, and, it's going to be a fun day overall. Hope you all join us. Peace out, guys. See you later. Stay cool.